Good afternoon. Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I'm Joey Calvo. Today I have Noah Healy. He is a recreational mathematician born and raised in Charlottesville, Virginia, and he's discovered a superior form of marketplace, and he's working towards adoption of this technique to upgrade the economy. He has diverse interests in philosophy, cooking, and fiction, and we'll get to that as well. So, Noah, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me here, Joey.
Okay, and so how did it all get started?
Um, I basically just do whatever looks like fun and interesting that happens to be in front of me at the time. And that's childhood through adulthood, more or less. So I, uh, I decided to take some time out from working the 9 to 5
Mm-hmm.
to to explore mathematics and computational mathematics more deeply. And one of the ideas that I was chewing on turned into this market system.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so describe this market system that you came across.
So the idea is that at any given price, there's going to be different amounts of interest in buying and selling. So if prices are too high, lots of people will be happy to sell, but not very many people will be happy to buy. Prices are too low, you get lots of people that want to buy, not so many people that want to sell. And if you Goldilocks it, if prices are just right, then there'll be
Um,
basically
uh, hold on. Okay, sorry, Noah. I'm gonna apologize. I have that T-Mobile 5G home internet, and the live stream doesn't is not the greatest on it. So I apologize if it cuts you out in
okay.
record. So you had mentioned you were starting to explain about the system and saying when prices are going up, people want to sell. So that's where you left off before it cut you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, prices are too high. People are happy to sell. People don't buy so much. Prices are too low. People happy to buy. They don't sell so much. But if prices are just right, then the amount of people want to buy, the amount of people want to sell are the same. Um, and so the idea is, what if you have a market that figures out what the right prices are and then tells the people that want to buy and sell what the prices are, and then those people pay the marketplace a commission for the
Mm-hmm.
trades that it operates, so they don't have to know who it is that they're actually trading with. The market takes care of that for them, and they don't have to figure out how to price their goods. Now, that sounds a little squiffy, because prices are moving all the time. So that led to my next thought. What's important isn't what the price is right now. What's important is how the price is going to be changing into the future. And that's something that we could all theoretically agree on and make money from agreeing on. And that is, what's the price supposed to be today? What's the price supposed to be tomorrow? What's the price supposed to be, into the future? And so the way my market works is, people put in their beliefs about where prices are going, and the system integrates those beliefs into a super prediction, or a negotiation of where prices are, and then presents the outcome to the traders that actually want to make and take delivery, to take as much or as little as they want to. Like when you go to the grocery store, you don't negotiate the prices of the oranges, you just decide how many oranges you want to buy.
Right.
And if the price is right, then the number of oranges they stock is the number of oranges they sell.
Right.
Um, and so this basically changes the marketplace from one where you have to negotiate and trade, to one
Mm-hmm.
where you negotiate and then as a separate activity trade. And just as supermarkets are more efficient than farmers markets,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this system is more efficient than the existing market.
Okay. All right. So you figured a way to um how can we say it, alleviate the pressure on people that are interested in investing in the stock market by um, give them an idea of what the price will be an hour or a day later than what the price was right now. Am I correct?
Yeah. It sort of combines what spot markets do right now with what futures and options markets do right now with what dark pools do right now. Um, and it sort of takes the good parts of those things and it gets rid of the bad parts of each of them.
Okay. So it practically takes out the risk. You're saying for the investor.
Well, yeah. By being able to aggregate all forecasters and all producers and all consumers into their own bucket where they're sort of safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Effectively, everybody gets hedged across the entire marketplace, so it's much safer than any existing market security or hedge can offer.
Okay. And and how can someone? Well, I mean, in reference to you, I mean, how do you profit off of that, though?
Well, whoever is operating the marketplace is charging a commission for the services that's being rendered,
Okay.
and that commission can be, if you are attached to a large marketplace, could be pretty considerable in size.
Okay.
Um, so the oil market on a global basis, for example, is about $1 trillion a year.
Mm-hmm.
The rice market is 300 billion. Corn is, or a couple hundred billion.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat somewhere in the middle there. So there's trillions and trillions of dollars of deal flow that occur every year through the existing commodity markets, um, and and the costs that are imposed on that are also in the neighborhood of $1 trillion, which means that you could undercut that cost for the customer base
Mm-hmm.
pretty considerably, and there would still be hundreds of billions of dollars available
Okay.
for an operator to collect.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now you're also into philosophy, cooking, and fiction. So I'm going to go a little bit backwards. What type of fiction are we talking about? Are we talking about like comics, superheroes, science fiction, or just regular fictional books?
I'm a big fan of Silver Age science fiction. That's
Okay.
basically the science fiction of the like 50s, 60s, 70s kind of whiz bang.
Yeah.
Um, the more nihilistic cyberpunk, I'm not so much a fan of, although
Okay.
some of the early stuff is quite solid. One of my
Yeah.
favorite books is a book called The Shockwave Rider by a science fiction author named John Brunner, which is highly anticipates the entire cyberpunk genre.
Oh,
I'm also a big fan of fantasy,
okay.
and even juvenile fantasy. So I have an extensive collection of children's fantasy books that I still enjoy.
Okay. And also into the cooking. Um, what do you
Baking mostly.
baking?
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So my family quite enjoys my fruitcake, and so that's what I do for my Christmas list. I make
Uh-huh.
around 40 pounds of fruitcake every year.
Wow.
Uh, I also do a lot with chocolate. I've got a triple chocolate cheesecake recipe and a few other chocolate cakes.
There goes my
And
weight. No, as you were talking about that triple chocolate cheesecake, I was like, "There goes my weight." Oh
that's
God.
that's a
Oh,
that's a specialty item. I can only
oh
crack that out at large events.
yeah.
That recipe serves 60 people.
Wow. Wow. I would say email to me, but right now I don't have a place that I can do that with. Otherwise, I would have loved to do that. And especially if I'm having a party or something, 60 people, yeah, yeah, if I can fit them. I mean, yeah, that would take care of that. If not, I'll be eating for a couple days off of that. All right, so you do a lot of baking. Any other specialty in the cooking area that you enjoy playing with?
Not
No, just more of the
not
bacon. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not especially. I mean, I do host Thanksgiving sometimes for my extended family, and
Mhm.
Christmas Eve, and so I'll make like turkey stock, and a few other things. But I'm comfortable in the kitchen, but
Mhm.
uh, I- most of my skill and innovation is in baking.
Okay. All right. And in reference to philosophy, chat about what you enjoy in reference to it.
Sure. Well, I contend that uh, computational logic is the mathematics of philosophy. Because what Alan Turing did was demonstrate that you can imagine up a machine that can carry out anything that can be imagined.
Mhm.
And the domain of imagination and the domain of philosophy look pretty similar to me, at least. Um, and so uh, I find a lot of the classical philosophers
Mhm.
kind of fall apart under the scrutiny of computational mathematics. Once you can indefinitely recurse or
Mhm.
self-reflect an idea, lots of things don't hold up very well. And so I'm a lot more fascinated by the people who come up with contradictions, like Zeno's paradox, for example. I was first exposed to Zeno's paradox as a child in grade school, I think third or fourth grade, and that's the paradox that if you were going to say walk over to a table, you
Mhm.
would first have to walk halfway to the table.
Yeah.
But in order to get halfway to the table, you'd have to walk a quarter of the way to the table. And
Right.
so, because there's this infinite number of you know barriers between you and where you get to, you
Yeah.
could never actually move. And this is presented as sort of a silly thing that
Mhm.
people didn't understand convergent sequences. But
Mhm.
Zeno actually has another paradox that demonstrates he understands convergent sequences quite well, and that he's
Mhm.
getting at something far deeper.
Mhm.
So it's called the mirrors, or hall of mirrors. So imagine that you light a candle and you create a beam of light from that
Mhm.
candle, and you set up a mirror so that light reflects off at a 90-degree angle.
Mhm. Okay.
And then at half of that distance, you take a second mirror that's half the size of the first mirror, and
Yeah.
you set it up so the candle bounces off at another 90-degree angle. And now
Okay.
imagine repeating this pattern an infinite number of times. So there'd be a finite set of space in which
Okay.
this beam of light bounces back and forth an infinite number of times.
Okay.
When the beam of light leaves, which direction is it leaving in? To the left or the right?
Moment. There we go.
Yep.
Got him back again.
Okay, great.
All right. So I was starting to say that I had did a semester at Rutgers, and I'm dating myself. God, 30. No, more than 30. Almost 33 years ago, something like that. Um, and I took a philosophy class, and first day, professor's like, "Water is wet." I'm like, okay, and like the whole semester was supposed to be within, like, you have to figure out why, you know, like you were explaining about the paradox and stuff of, but using the statement "water is wet," and I'm like, I couldn't manage it. I wind up getting a D in that class because I was like, I couldn't understand, I couldn't grab it, it was like really hard on me. But mathematician wise, I mean, I mean, we're all walking calculators now these days. Um, but I mean, when I was younger, I was like a walking calculator, and my family would always get to me, and they're like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "This is the answer." They're like, "Damn, how'd you do that so quick?" I'm like, "Gee, I'm going to school. What do you expect?" You know, like I didn't say that, but you know, so most of them are assuming that. Because I don't have any more questions, and there's no questions that popping up, and I feel bad because normally I try to make these things at least a half hour. Um, how can people reach out to you in reference to the the um, the markets and
Well, as it happens, I'm right now struggling with the patent office. They're basically breaking their own rules to try to not grant me the patent. So I've started a petition about that, and I'm trying to gather signatures and interest in having an economy in the future. So it's on change.org uh, slash CDM underscore patent. CDM's all caps. I think that's
what
important.
do you mean? Okay. Yep,
Uh
there we go.
oh,
All right,
froze
it
again.
cut you out again. Yeah. So I was starting to say that you have a petition on change.org
Yes.
um, in reference to the patents. They're not letting you. They're not granting them to you
Y-
for it.
well, so they've actually given me two notices of acceptance, and they've been forced to withdraw both of them. The first one uh, for in a very unique fashion, and the second one in the standard fashion, but for a very unique reason,
Okay.
one that they don't agree with. So
Okay.
um, the whole system is turned into sort of
North
Kafka's The
again.
Trial,
Okay.
where
It's coming in and out, so I apologize.
okay,
Yeah.
where basically that they say that they can't move forward, but they can't explain why they can't move forward. So the appeals set to be heard July of next year, and in the meantime, I figured I'd try to get people to evince some interest in having a better economy.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because definitely in reference to the way the economy is going right now, and this presidential election, in reference to you know, of course, of who's running, and you know, you know how people will think about it, and I mean, my personal opinion, back in office. Um, but you know, like I said, that's my personal opinion because I mean, they both. If it's not, we're going one direct. We're going. I don't know how to explain this. With one candidate, we're going towards hell. With the other candidate, it's like we're halfway to hell, like you were saying about the paradox. So you know, like, and as the elections are getting closer, you know, that little step that you know, like you were mentioning before, um, there's another mirror that comes out or another reflection of it, and you know, still trying to steer it back towards the original two. Um, Even though, like I said, in my own personal opinion, I really rather see other people running because I think they could do it better and maybe even look into the economy that you had talked about. You know, um, how do you feel about that?
Uh, yeah, I think everyone might prefer not to redo what happened 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But but I see the foundational problems as being institutional,
Hmm.
and I think that the current institutions are as illegitimate in the face of modern technology
Hmm.
as the the divine right monarchies were insufficient and illegitimate in the face of the Industrial Revolution. So I I don't I don't think that our political interests that we're talking about have much to do with the future today,
Okay.
any more than discussing who the heirs of Louis XVI ought to
Right.
be meant anything to the Bourbons.
Right.
Um,
Okay. The other thing that I could ask, I as we're talking, is I'm trying to come up with more questions. Do you see this strategy that you came across? Do you see that for the global markets outside of Wall Street?
Absolutely, yes. So the CME group um, already handles the global benchmarks for most agricultural commodities that have associated commodity markets on Earth. An example I like to bring up is that there's a butter market in France and there's a butter market in Chicago,
Right.
and the French eat a lot more butter than Chicagoans do. But if Chicago and France disagree about the price of butter, it's because France is wrong,
Yeah.
because the global benchmark is in Chicago and not in France. So these markets, once adopted, will grow very rapidly as they demonstrate that they're less expensive and more accurate than the markets that we currently have. And the limitation on that growth is the global economy.
Okay. And do you see it expanding within the next 5 years? I'd say.
That very much comes down to the problem of initial adoption. I'd say that if
Oh,
if,
oh,
if they got off the ground,
yeah.
there would be significant growth over the course of the next 5 years to the point where they would be globally acknowledged by the end of that. But I've been trying to get people to get these things off the ground for about a decade. There's a few people that are trying to get markets off the ground. That sort of initial step is the hard one, and so I hope not, but there we might not have started by 5 years from now.
Okay. All right. That's the website for Noah for his patent on change.org for you to sign the petition to about the markets and his patent for the superior form of marketplace, we'll call it. Um, and so the website's right there. I will put it in the when I go to send you the audio version um, of the podcast. I will have that in the description. All right. Um, Now I definitely run out of questions. Anything else that you want to promote, Noah, at this time besides the patent? Uh,
Yeah, sure. So I also have a podcast. We just dropped our 14th episode, talking about AI with the former CTO of Reddit. That's the Substack link there, and we talk. It's called the Fourth Age, the AI Revolution. We talk about AI's impacts on society, economy, and so on.
okay. All right. Give me one moment. Let me. Now it's going to take the change one off, just to let you know. Oop, it just took it out. There we go. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, where'd it go? Okay. All right. All right. And this is the podcast for Noah as well. Noah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sorry, like I said, I couldn't come up with any more questions and try to extend this out a little bit more. Hopefully, people will go to the change.org and sign the patent, sign the petition to in reference to the patent.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something to write that the website's down. So just bear with me one moment. Okay. There we go. All right. I got them down. They will be in the description on the anchor.fm audio version of the podcast. It's as it's shown here on YouTube. Noah, again, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I apologize I couldn't extend it out anymore and try to get more input into it. But hopefully, like I said, people will go to the change.org and sign a petition or listen to your podcast, your 14 episodes of the podcast. I've been doing this since 2019, and I lost track. I think I've done over 100. I didn't even do 100 episode, celebration.
Great. Congratulations. Oh, froze again.
Not getting along too well. And I actually said something about this. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I was starting to say, thank you for coming on the podcast, but at the same time we got out and I turned around. I was at the auto show, the Philly Auto Show, and there was a T-Mobile station or table or vendor there, and I turned around and I said, I love the internet on it, but the live stream sucks. And like apologize, like fix it, like say something to them and say like, improve this, But Noah, again, thank you so much for coming on. So everybody go to change.org /C, D, M _ patent. And of course, in reference to the podcast, it's the fourth age substack, or no, sorry. Yeah, the fourth age.substack.com. Noah, thank you again. And I apologize for the way the live stream went.
Well, absolutely. Thanks for having me here, Joey, and congratulations on your 100 episodes.
Well, it's probably more than that by now, but thank you so much.
When you're more than 100, exactly.
Yep. And everybody else, thank you so much for watching and listening to the Life of Joey Calvin podcast. God bless you all.